End of the world prophecy number 7. Collapse of the American economy and AI's part in it. We're not coming back from this one. And that's a good thing. Because when it all goes to shit, we will be forced to rebuild the entire economy, and hopefully we can get it right this time. It's an election year, so inflation will go down. But at the most it will probably only go down 1.5 points. The White House has been lying the whole time about how great the state of the economy is, and this will be the Democrats' main talking point. Meanwhile, most Americans will still not be able to afford to buy a home or car. And home prices have remained steady. Every greedy idiot believes that their home is really worth the artificially inflated price it sits at, even if they haven't been able to sell it for the last 6 months. This will not change, and no one is willing to give up their 3% mortgage loan interest rate for an 8% one. Food prices, at least in agricultural states, have come down from the massive spikes. People just refuse to buy the heavily inflated items. But the price of everything has still remained inflated to a degree so that they can keep stealing those nickels and dimes out of your pockets even though demand dropped and there hasn't been supply chain issues in most states for years, though they keep using it as an excuse. Add in the massive number of adults who think that certain types of jobs are beneath them. So there are numerous industries that have a shortage of workers as the boomers retire. Minimum wage is going up again here in Arizona. And I'm sure there are a lot of you out there like me who gave up eating out quite a while ago. At least the pizza chains saw the writing on the wall and lowered their prices and introduced really good specials. I haven't seen Pizza Hut prices this low in 15 years. They must be hurting real bad. Bankruptcies went up 30% in 2023 with over 433,000 filings as major retailers continue to fail and others close numerous locations across the country. And we don't have the stats for 2023, but retail theft cost the industry $112.1 billion in 2022. Which is a major contributing factor to a lot of stores closing. Most major corporations still pay no federal income tax. And they want the minimum wage to keep going up because they can afford to pay it while all their smaller competition goes out of business. And even some of the bigger ones can't make it. When I see McDonald's locations closing, I know that area has been hit hard with crime and poverty. Even Chicago and New York City is getting fed up with all the illegal immigrants being bussed into their cities, given free food and shelter and cell phones while the locals can't afford to live. The national debt is at $34 trillion and the government isn't slowing down at all. And giving billions of dollars to foreign countries for war and genocide. And America's credit rating was reduced because of it. And no one cares. In a country of 330 million people, there are only 167 million in the workforce. That's barely 50%. That number has been pretty consistent for the last few years. So that's about all it takes to run the entire country. For the last 20 years, 90% of all new jobs have been temporary positions, part-time, or gig work. And most of that remaining 10%, which is full-time, is probably replacing people who quit, died, retired, or got fired. So the American economy has reached a buoyancy point. There will be no more new jobs. And as bad as all of that might sound, let's talk about AI delivering the death blow to America. And hot damn, I can't wait. Everything we know about the nature of work and commerce is about to go away forever. According to CNBC, 37% of business leaders say they replaced workers with AI in 2023. That's more than a third of all businesses that have already started getting rid of their humans. It has begun. All the AI developers put the number of jobs lost to the machines at 80%, and it will be within 5 years that the bulk of that will take place. Other financial and investment groups are giving it a 5 to 20-year window, but they are predicting 90 to 100% job loss. Now 100% is just not realistic, but this is coming from the people who have all the money. So if they're betting trillions of dollars against humanity, you know we're fucked. And I did some pricing. A robot bartender can make 60 drinks an hour, and that includes specialty coffees and boba drinks. Starbucks doesn't need human employees now. What do you think is going to happen in 5 years to all the crybaby baristas that are striking because they have to work 8-hour shifts? The current line of robot bartenders run from $100,000 to $200,000. Get rid of the humans and the robot will pay for itself within only a year or two. And let's be honest, no one gives a shit about the fast food workers who can't even count to 3, and you're already down the road when you find out you got shorted a burger. And as the parent, I'm the one who has to go without so the kids can eat. I'm sure a lot of you have seen the fully automated Tesla assembly plant or the Amazon warehouses with only robot workers. That is the future. I am surprised Amazon hasn't fully converted yet. There must be something wrong with the programming still. Out here in Arizona, the highways are mostly flat and straight, and the metropolitan area of Phoenix is a very well-built grid system. So we have had robot trucks and driverless taxis for years now. The only environmental hazards they have here are from humans who don't obey the traffic laws. So that's a good thing. Don't you wish you could just level a bunch of those dumb bastards with an 18-wheeler? More Darwinism in effect. Arizona usually ranks 49 or 50 out of all the states for education. My kids are in one of the worst school districts. Even the AP teachers stopped caring. We no longer have high schools, we have teenage daycare. Within 5 to 10 years we will definitely start replacing teachers with AI. Then we'll have minimum wage security guards in each classroom to keep the kids in line. High school will basically become a prison, though you can argue that many inner-city schools already are. A lot of the banks, credit card companies, and other major corporations began automating their customer service lines years ago. And I love it. If I can't do the simple tasks online, like turning off utilities, I just have to call the number, press 3 buttons, confirm my identity via voice recognition, and everything's done. Only takes 1 minute instead of 1 hour. So what's the upside? No more lawyers. No more having a medical appointment or operation pushed back again and again because the doctor decided he wanted to go golfing. I can't even tell you how many of my compatriots in Gen X went into medicine only for the money. They don't care one bit about their patients. They get in, get their practices up and running and making big cheddar, and turn it over to interns and just graduated doctors while they keep raking in the cash. No more corrupt stock traders. AI won't skim off their clients, though I'm sure some of the human bosses that are left will keep the practice going. No more shitty government workers and having to stand in line for hours at a time. Less human soldiers dying in America's illegal military invasions. And maybe, just maybe, the ultimate dream, maybe we can replace politicians with AI. You can't bribe a machine. In the short term, focus on spending your money on mom and pop stores, farmers markets, shop local. I think we'll see a return to the high level of home businesses we saw in the 80s and 90s. We already have to an extent with small online retailers, especially places like Etsy, Shopify, and eBay. But in Phoenix, the best Mexican restaurants back then were the ones that Abuela opened up in her kitchen with dining areas in the front room or converted garage and plenty of patio seating outside, sometimes the front yard, sometimes the backyard. You don't see that too much anymore. The modern version is food trucks. No one can afford to open up a new restaurant, but every weekend there is a food truck gathering or night market pop-up event somewhere in this city. But the government is going to have to figure out some kind of UBI, universal basic income, by actually making the big corporations start paying their taxes, and there will be some kind of tax per robot probably as well. Because if you've got 300 million people who can't afford to buy food or pay for their housing or utilities, there's going to be a whole lot of unalived politicians. And there's no need to dig Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg out of their doomsday bunkers. We just block the air vents and exits with tons of dirt and leave them buried alive. But I think the AI conversion process will be just slow enough that we'll be able to get out in front of it. Arizona is an agricultural state, and we had zero supply chain disruptions during COVID. Farmers kept farmin'. Ranchers kept ranchin'. Truckers kept truckin'. Plumbers kept plumbin'. The trains kept a-rollin' all night long. The Twilight Zone covered this back in 1964 in the episode The Brain Center at Whipple's, where the greedy boss replaced all the workers with robots. Until he himself was made obsolete and was replaced by a robot. Rod Serling's moral: too often man becomes clever instead of becoming wise. He becomes inventive, but not thoughtful, and sometimes, as in the case of Mr. Whipple, he can create himself right out of existence. So it will come down to what I've been telling you guys for years: we need to work together. And we'll come out of this on the other end and start building the Star Trek future we always thought we were heading towards in the first place back in the 80s. And should the Mr. Whipples of the world not go quietly into that good night, say the Black Rocks and the World Economic Forums and the Chase Banks try to stand in our way this time, part of my heritage is French, you start lining them up and I'll pull the lever on the guillotine. Vive la Revolution. Be safe out there, Star Spawn. And be sure to subscribe for more horror, occult, and Lovecraft madness. Until next time, hail Cthulhu, hail Lemmy, hail Skynet.